Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome back to yet another episode on your and everyone's favorite Little's Law YouTube channel. So today in this video, yes, as you're seeing in the screen, yes, we're going to see a mock interview on a performance testing scenario. So this was being asked by one of our subscribers, and in fact, this is a very classic question that's been asked in several interviews. So you can expect this question in one of your interview, and the question goes like this. So it can be in any ways. Um, so the question goes like, uh, even if the correlated values are correct or they are valid, still the script fails. And what will be your approach as a performance tester, as a performance engineer? So the question goes like this. So normally we know correlation is something like we extract a value from the server or from the server response, and then we replace that with the dynamic response value. So we do two processes. One is extraction and then replacement. So that's how the correlation is completed, and yeah, that's how we do the correlation. But even though we do correlation, at some scenarios, yes, they will fail. And in this video, we're going to see how to answer this. So this is going to be very important. Please do watch this video until the end. So I'm going to approach this in both the interviewer and the interviewee's view, so that you can actually see. For example, I can give you the answer in a straightforward manner, but what happens is you get a lot of follow-up questions. So in this case, we're going to see the follow-up questions as well. So let me start again. The best way to handle any interview is to approach that in a star method. So when I say star method, it is going to be a situation, and then what is the task, and what was the action that has been taken by you, and then what is the final result. So now moving on to the mock interview situation. And before that, this is me, Vasan Shanmugam. I welcome you all to a Little Slaw YouTube channel. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't subscribed yet, and please give a thumbs up if you like this video, and share this video with your friends who are preparing for their performance testing interviews. So with no more delay, let's go to the video. And the question here is, so the interviewer asks you, uh, let's say your JMeter script is failing even though you have correlated the values correctly. And how would you approach this? So I would say there were really million options, million ways where you can answer this question. But let me give you somewhere a closer answer to this, because that will help you to crack your interview. So coming back, the interviewer has asked you a question. So let's say your JMeter script is failing. It can be any tool. Like he can replace that with load runner or neoload or Gatling or K6, whatever it is. So just imagine it's an interviewer who's asking you, let's say your JMeter script is failing even though you have correlated the values correctly, and how would you approach this? So the interviewer answer is, in one of my previous projects, I was testing a login and navigation flow, and I'm explaining the situation. So in one of my recent projects, I was testing a web application where the user login and the navigation workflows were automated in JMeter, and I had implemented a dynamic correlation using regular expressions, and all correlated values looked accurate in the logs. And my task, despite even after giving the correct correlation, the script was failing at a specific request during playback. So a particular request is failing during the playback when I'm doing the when I'm running it. And as a performance tester, my task is to identify why the script failed and ensure it mimic the real user behavior correctly under load. So that is my task. So the situation I have here is, I have a script which I have automated in JMeter, and I have implemented dynamic correlation using a regular expression, and the correlated values looks accurate in the logs. So now the task for me is, the script was failing. So even though I did the correlation, so that's your question. So even though I did the correlation, the script was failing at a specific request during the playback. And my task is to identify why this script failed, and I have to ensure the real user behavior, which is I have to keep the script, I have to make the script ready for testing, right? So now what is the action did I do? So the first action I did is, I have validated the correlated values, not just for correctness but for contextual usage, which is I'm ensuring that the values were passed at the right point in the workflow. That's my first point. So I'm trying to validate the correlated value. That's my very first item And the second point is I have to inspect the response code and the body in the failed sampler. So I have a failed sampler or have a failed request. So my second action is I will inspect the response code and the body, because although the server returned a 200 OK response, the body showed an error indicating invalid session. So the third thing which I did is I realized that there is another secondary token. So in this scenario, I have a secondary token, a secondary CSRF token, which has in several scenarios it happened. It really happened. So that's the reason I'm giving you. So in my scenario, there was a secondary token which is from a hidden field, which was not being extracted and passed. So I updated my script to extract the hidden token, which using again same process, using dynamically using regular expression extractor. And then fourth step is I have reviewed the headers to make sure the important ones like the referrer, the X requested with the cookies were correctly passed using header cookie manager, because most of the time we normally avoid looking at the headers, but headers actually carry all these values like the referrer, the X requested with the cookie values and several other values, the referrer value. In fact, sometimes those tokens, the hidden tokens are also be stored in the cookies. So I review the headers. And then the fifth point is I added the debug samplers and the view results tree to monitor all the values, all the variable values, and I trace the steps. I trace the each and every workflow, the request workflow. So to confirm everything that has been fixed, I ran the same scenario manually using Postman to verify the sequence and payload. And finally, after doing all these actions, that is validating the correlated value, inspecting the response code and bodies in the failed sampler, and realizing that there is a secondary token which is hidden, and then after that, I reviewed my headers to make sure that all the values are passed correctly in the cookie values. And then I added a debug sampler and a view results tree. And finally, I ran the same scenario manually using Postman. So the result is the updated script ran successfully without any functional errors, and I was able to use it in my load test. And this scenario, I mean, this situation has also improved the correlation framework since we added logic to auto detect and extract similar tokens in future scripts. So now the interviewer asks you the follow-up question. Interesting. You mentioned the CSRF token. So how do you usually identify if a hidden token like that exists? Interviewee, I'm telling that. I look at the original response in DevTools. Yes, we have DevTools. By clicking on F12, we could see the DevTools, or even we have the JMeter's response tab, and compare it with a successful login request from the browser. In case, if I notice a value in the HTML or in the JSON response that a dynamic and the changes are happening in each session, I will start investigating further by using debug samplers to print out all the extracted variables to validate them before they are used in the subsequent requests. So yes, I make use of the DevTools or the JMeter's response tab, and that's the keyword here, to make sure that there are any dynamic changes, dynamic values that is getting changed in each session. I'll make use of that. I will do more investigation on it, and then we'll try to get those values passed in the subsequent requests. Interviewer, his second follow-up question. So do you have a standard checklist for debugging script failures after correlation? As an interviewee, I would say yes. So I in fact recommend everyone to have this checklist. Yes, my checklist includes correlation validation, which is the value present and placed correctly? If there are any missing additional tokens or dynamic values. The third pointer is I'll check the header and cookie configurations. The fourth one is checking the response code and checking for any body checks. The fifth one is the sequence of requests. Am I mimicking the real user journey? Which means I start from the proper step like landing page, login, entering the credentials, clicking the login, and then navigating to the page. So all these sequence of requests which should mimic the real user journey. And then the timers and pacing. So is the script too fast for the server? I will add this as part of a checklist, and then I will do a manual comparison using tools like Postman or DevTools. The interviewer with this last follow-up question: if the correlation is correct and if the script fails randomly during high load, not during validation but during high load, how do you proceed? As an interviewee, I would say that points to the potential server side issue or thread safety issues in the application. So firstly I would add assertions to check any extract failure points. Secondly, I would check for I will correlate with server monitoring tools like Dynatrace, New Relic, or logs in the Splunk. So Splunk actually helps us in getting the exact logs so that we can correlate that with the server monitoring tools. And I will look for any thread contention. If the thread is getting contented, then our request will fail. So I look for thread contentions. If there are any sessions that get logged, kind of a bottleneck situation, yes, I will check for any session locking, or I'll check for any race conditions. And finally, I'll confirm that if the application can handle concurrent sessions with dynamic values. So after all these questions, I believe the interviewer will be satisfied because in all my answers, in all my reply, I have pinpointed the keywords and I have not taken the interviewer to unwanted places. And finally, the final tip I always advise every interviewee to watch this. So always pass after your star answer so the interviewer can pick a thread from it and he will ask question, he or she will ask question from it, and it will be easy for you to answer it. And then you have to use specific tools to show the real world debugging to show your expertise in other tools. Like you can use tools like Postman, dev tools. Please do underline dev tools is very important in the Dynatrace. And finally, end your answer with very confident and curiosity. Don't be overconfident, but yeah, end with confidence that I have seen that even one missed variable or header can break the flow. And that's why I always combine manual validation debugging tools, which is dev tools, Postman, whatever tools you have expertise on, please use it, and server-side logs when troubleshooting. So with that, I come to an end of this video, and I believe this video would be very useful to you. And I in fact tried a different approach, but going forward, I'll try to fine tune this approach, and that will be very helpful for your interviews. Thank you so much for watching this entire video, and until I see you all in our next video, it's bye bye from Mr. Chandugam and your favorite Little Star YouTube channel. Take care and bye bye.